Let's bring in Brian Baldinger now. It's we've all known him for years. Played for the Dallas Cowboys 82 to 87, Indy Colts 88 to 91, then the Bills and the Eagles, and then NFL Network. Baldy, good day, sir. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me, Rod. Appreciate it, man. I've been enjoying the conversation so far.
I appreciate it. Boy, we got a lot to get to with you. And I got to say, this connection was made by Jeff Reinbold, a mutual friend. I want to know how you know that pineapple, and how did this happen?
Yeah, well, that pineapple was coaching over in NFL Europe back in the late 90s and into the 2000s, and I was over there for Fox, announcing quite a few of the games for about 10 years. In fact, all of us at Fox at some time or another were over there. And, I knew Jeff then and been working with him for Sky Sports now for a number of years in London. And we stayed in the same apartment complex last year during the playoffs. And we share a love of Hawaii and the surf and all good things that life is.
So you're a pineapple too. Okay, I got it. And what a dream gig, by the way. And the other thing I see here, Dallas Cowboys 82 to 87 on the offensive line would mean you would know our good friend Chris Schultz, who we just lost at age 61. Tell me what you know about Schultz.
Well, I sure do. It was a very sad loss and unexpected. I didn't know until I heard, obviously that went around and traveled pretty quickly. But, Chris was a second-round pick out of Arizona in 1983, if I got that right.
Yep.
And I was going into my second season. I had just made the Cowboys as a rookie free agent the year before in the offensive line. I thought, oh, God, here they go. Drafting guys like Chris Schultz in the second round, like, I'm going to be one and done here. But, Chris stuck around for a while, and we became good teammates and good friends. We lived in the same apartment complex. So, I knew Chris quite well, during a time that he was there. He moved on and obviously became a big star up in Canada. I would see him every year at the Super Bowl. He was always doing stuff, for the Canadian broadcast systems up in Canada at the Super Bowl. So I'd always run into him. We'd always reconnect. But, he was a big old 6'8", offensive tackle, big old Lurch, good athlete. Had his time with the Dallas Cowboys.
An absolutely beautiful human being, Chris Schultz, and just a star. So, what a great chat there. So, can I ask you this before we get to the Russell Wilson thing? Because I teed up that we were going to ask you that. What about the CFL XFL merger? Has that moved the needle in your world at all? If your buddies with Reinbold, it has to have. Like, what do you think about the state of pro football below the NFL right now?
Well, I always believed that there was a place for the Canadian Football League. I mean, I'm old enough to know, Warren Moon and Joe Theismann and a whole bunch of guys that came out of that league into the NFL. And so I was always a big fan. In fact, before I signed with Dallas, I'd gone to a free agent tryout for the Ottawa Rough Riders, actually made their team in a training camp, but I ended up going with the Dallas Cowboys instead. So I was always kind of linked to it. I knew a lot of coaches, including Marv Levy, that coached up in the Canadian Football League. I think we need a second league, period. Whether it's the Canadian League, XFL, we just need a second league. With the NFL can't handle everything that it needs to do, develop players, supplement players, another place for coaches and players to work. I'm a big fan. I was a big fan of NFL Europe throughout its time over across the pond. So I'd love to see, the Canadian Football League and the XFL. I'd like to see them all, try to coexist.
Yeah, 1 week ago today, we had Micah Alway on, a young linebacker came out of Texas Tech, but he's played in BC, he's played for the Argos, and now he's signed with Ottawa, and he just says, we need something, and both leagues are struggling. So I just feel like let's bring them together. And by the way, you mentioned being in NFL Europe. I've talked with coaches about the concept of an NFL Canada, and the NFL has told the CFL apparently there's nothing there right now. But do you think that could work? What you did in Europe, just take it to Canada and same schedule, same everything. Would that not? I think that sounds like a good idea.
Well, we need a feeder league to the NFL. We need a place for players because of the restrictions in college and the NFL now for practice and all that kind of stuff that's out there, which is player safety. Players need a chance to go prove themselves. Look, I did a series of TV shows last week with Kurt Warner. Like Kurt Warner didn't make the NFL, wouldn't be in the Hall of Fame if it wasn't for NFL Europe and the Arena League. I mean, that's just one example. But I mean, I could give you 100. But we need, a minor football league, if you want to call it that, a feeder league to the NFL. And if it's in Canada, that'd be great. I'd be all for it. I mean, there's plenty of cities that would support it north of our border. But if it's in Europe, wherever it is, I'm a fan of another league where players can get an opportunity, like Micah Awa, who I know from Texas Tech, guys that can get an opportunity to go play, because we can do all this stuff that we're doing now, all this testing and pro days and all this stuff. Like, if you can't get on the field and play, the only way to get better at playing right guard is to play right guard. And a lot of kids don't get that opportunity.
John Frenzy, go ahead.
Wally, John Lynch here. Always thought you were the greatest, so good to finally meet you. Can you straighten us out on that horrible situation with the quarterback, Watson, in Houston? I mean, what's going to happen there? Are they going to get traded? Are they going to stay there? Or all these charges against him, 14 I think it is now, phonies to really screw him up. I mean, it looks like a horrible situation.
It does. We have to play it out. We got to see I'm surprised. I know Deshaun Watson. I've always said that when you walked into a room with Deshaun, he changed the room. Look, people can have these kind of things in their life that surface like this. Now we got to play it out. I'm all for letting its due course take place, but I know this: the teams that were interested in trading for Deshaun Watson don't have any interest anymore. I mean, you just can't. And so now it's like I don't think he could go anywhere but play for Houston. But he's got to clear his name here. And there's a lot of damage being done publicly right now. He's got his lawyer in place. They're going to attack this thing. I hope for Deshaun Watson's case, this is a lot of he said, she said, and that he's just not wrong in this. But it really, John, it doesn't look good right now for Deshaun or anybody that would be in this situation.
It's unbelievable, and I haven't met Deshaun Watson, but I know a lot of guys in Houston who have, and like yourself, and they vouch for the kid. That was before this happened. And nobody's really sure, right? But when you say that the teams have backed off on wanting him, maybe the Texans have backed off. Like, what timing this is for this, right? So, but as everybody, Stephen A. Smith, who I believe has a law degree, has said, innocent until proven guilty. So we do need to let this play out. There's no doubt. From our viewers, Micah is watching, by the way.
Okay.
He says, Brian does great analysis videos on Twitter, and I could never pass them up. Does a great job. Also, I had no idea he was an undrafted free agent. Respect from Micah. From John O'Flynn.
Tell Micah guns up, all right?
There you go. From John O'Flynn in North Vancouver. Brian Baldinger, first time listening to your guest. Impressed by Brian's perspectives. Jeff Kabilis in Winnipeg watching. One of my favorites when it comes to breaking down film. That's for sure. So let's just stay on that disgruntled quarterback train for a second. What is going on in Seattle with Russell Wilson?
Well, I think there's been a lot of what has been reported is true. He did seek a way to get out of Seattle if it was the right team. Seattle did inquire with 4 other teams. That is on the record. That's all true. I think part of it, to be honest with you, Rod, is a difference in philosophy. The way Pete Carroll wants to play football and the way Russell Wilson wants to play football are, I think, divergent. When you look at, Russell Wilson and his wife Ciara at the Super Bowl this year, sitting in the commissioner's box, and he's watching Tom Brady notch his 7th Super Bowl and, becoming the greatest of all time. That's what Russell Wilson wants to be. He wants to play till he's in the 40s, and he wants to win multiple Super Bowls. And he wants to throw the ball up and down the yard the way Tom Brady has done this year in Tampa. That's how he wants to win. But Pete Carroll wants to run the football and play a more conservative brand. And so there's a philosophy difference. But, Russell Wilson had a hand in the new offensive coordinator in Seattle. And so I don't think he's going to go anywhere. I don't think Seattle's going to trade him. And so I think he's going to stay there. And they're going to have to find a kind of a happy meeting point right now between the the way Pete wants to play and the way Russell wants to play.
Are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers approaching the dynasty state, do you think?
No, I don't think so, John, because, we've seen that it's been almost 20 years since New England has won back-to-back Super Bowls, and you've got to start. You can't have that conversation of a dynasty until you win 2 in a row. When you win 2 in a row, then you can start thinking like the Dallas Cowboys did back in the 90s, that, maybe this could be done, or the Patriots, in 2003, 2004. But I think you've got to win a second one before you can have that conversation. So I think they're a little ways away from that, but they will be the favorites going into next year to win the Super Bowls, especially when it looks like they can bring back most of the team and all of the coaching staff that they won with this year.
We, of course, here come all the viewer questions, just as we're about to get out of time. But Jamie in Halifax, Nova Scotia is watching. He says, how do you expect the Bears season will play out with Andy Dalton signing?
Well, I thought Juan Castillo, the new offensive line coach last year, did a good job down the stretch. They ran the ball a lot better. And I'm good friends with Juan over a long period of time. And I think that if the offensive line picks up where they left off last year, that will be good for Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton won a lot of games. I know he has not won a playoff game. I know what his playoff record is. But he won a lot of games in Cincinnati. He helped Dallas win some games last year. I think he'll be an upgrade over Mitchell Trubisky. And so then it's a question of, can the defense really, play within a top 5 level and keep them in games while the offense, comes around, and hopefully the offensive line can stay improved going into this year.
Okay, Brian Baldinger, the only one we care about, America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. You saw Mike McCarthy speak yesterday about the defense, and that's going to be the focus of their team this year. His attention, and I hope he's right. We got Dakota Prescott, highest paid quarterback ever. Let's forget about even in Dallas history, right? I don't even think he's the best quarterback in Dallas. He's not, Brian. Like, am I going to be sold on the
problem, no, but look, the problem when you're a quarterback with the Cowboys, and Tony Romo went through this, is that you will always be compared to Roger Staubach and Troy Aikman, right or wrong, fair or not fair. That's just the standard. And so Cowboy fans know what Super Bowl winning quarterbacks look like. And so that's what Dak Prescott is being compared to. Now, it doesn't help that he's I don't think that he's the highest paid quarterback in the league, because now the expectations are, well, you better be Troy Aikman now that you have this contract and you've earned this contract. So that's what's out in front of him after he's coming back from a repaired knee that required major surgery and all that kind of stuff. So, and an offensive line that fell apart last year and a defense that was just god awful. So he's got a lot to put on his shoulders this year to try and carry that torch.
So just here it is with bonuses and everything for 2021, $75 million for Dakota Prescott. It actually goes down from there. It was front loaded. So that's what I'm saying. And the thing is, I was willing, like obviously I'm a Cowboys fan. I was willing to give him a pass the last few years, but nobody in Texas is going to give him a pass with this kind of money, Brian. That's the point. Like, no. I don't envy the guy. Everybody thinks $75 million. Oh my God. No. You thought he was being dissected before, man. Right?
Oh, no doubt, Rod. I mean, with that money comes responsibility. I remember when free agency first started, I was a teammate of Reggie White, and he took $17 million to go to Green Bay, dealt with a championship, which he did. But I remember everybody was like, oh, he just went for the money. And all they talked about was $17 million. They didn't talk about how he changed the whole culture. They won a Super Bowl 3 years later, all that stuff. But when you are bringing down that kind of cake, you're expected to win not one Super Bowl, but multiple Super Bowls. So, yes, the scrutiny will be larger and more intense than it's ever been.
Yeah, for sure. But, Troy, some guys are worth it, right, in terms of the leadership and stuff, and maybe Dak has that. Troy Aikman's endorsed him. That's good enough for me. Brian, we could go on all day, but we won't. We got to run. I appreciate the time. Good guys run in packs. Say hi to Jeff for me, please, next time you chat with him, and have a great weekend. Thanks for the time. Thanks for having me, Rod. Appreciate it. I'll give my best, mahalo to Jeff
whatever island Hawaii's on right now.
No kidding. You know he's loving life wherever he is. All right, Brian
Yes, he
Baldinger, NFL alum on NFL Network, joining us here on video chat.
You're watching Rod Peterson On Demand. For more of The Rod Peterson Show, visit rodpeterson.com or follow Rod Peterson on social media.